Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Gintama chapter review. It looks like people downloaded that first one I uploaded, so um, I'm not tired of these yet, so figured I might as well do another one. And this week we're going to be talking about chapter 567, Peak. And so yeah, again, I'm not going to be necessarily recapping the chapter. I just kind of want to talk about all of the things either I noticed or just basically just anything I had in my mind while reading this. So we're still in the middle of Sakamoto's fight against Hankai, the 3rd Division captain of the Harusame Pirates. Yes, I finally remembered what division he was the head of. So I guess first thing I want to just touch on is I guess I was wrong about when Hankai actually invaded Nobunobu's body, because last chapter, chapter 566, I thought that maybe he had invaded Nobunobu while Nobunobu was doing his little internal monologue of about Sakamoto and his leadership and how he just can't believe how good of a leader he is or something. I don't remember. It was the internal monologue he was having like right before they got to the center of the ship, and I had thought that maybe he invaded his body then, but I guess there was a moment where Nobunobu was like peeking outside of his room and Hankai saw him, and then Hankai like launched his tentacles at Nobunobu, which makes sense. Though the only thing that bothers me about that is that it just seems kind of weird that Nobunobu doesn't remember that Hankai sort of launched his tentacles at him. I feel like he probably wouldn't forget something like that. Though there are a few ways you could kind of explain that away. The first thing I came up with was you could make the argument that Hankai, seeing as how we find out later in this chapter that he can read Nobunobu's mind and all that stuff while he's inside his body, so you could maybe make the argument that maybe after Hankai injected himself into Nobunobu that maybe he had the ability to tamper with his memories to make him forget that he launched himself inside of him. Either that or he probably launched his tentacles so fast that Nobunobu didn't notice. I don't know. That particular moment where he injects himself into Nobunobu is either supposed to be vague or it's just a plot hole. I don't really know what to make of it. I just thought it was kind of weird because Nobunobu said last chapter that he remembered seeing Hankai with a bunch of Sakamoto's men, so it's just kind of weird to me that he didn't remember Hankai launching his freaky mechanical tentacles at him. I feel like that's kind of a detail he, like, I guess I'm just not sure why that was such a big revelation to him. Like, did he, like, seriously, did he forget or something? Like, I don't know. But anyway, I'm probably spending too much time thinking about that. It's whatever. It's a thing, I guess. I was almost kind of surprised, but at the same time, I should have seen it coming that Mutsu ended up becoming infected by Hankai. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Like, I'm kind of smacking my head because I feel kind of silly that I didn't see that coming. There was a panel that kind of made me chuckle, unintentionally. It wasn't really supposed to be funny, but there was a panel in the chapter where I think Sorachi or whoever is in charge of this, I know sometimes the assistants of a manga author usually take care of like really silly, like minuscule little things, but either Sorachi or one of his assistants forgot to color in Sakamoto's glasses in one of the panels. I just thought that was kind of weird, so Sakamoto just looks like he's wearing normal glasses. I thought that was kind of funny. And then the moment where Hankai's tentacles spew out of Nobunobu's mouth was that gave me the shivers. Like I got I got Benny Zakura vibes off of that moment. And what I mean by that is, for some reason, it reminded me of the moment in Benny Zakura where Benny Zakura itself almost loses control, and the tentacles of Benny Zakura come out of Nizo's arm to like choke Makoto and stuff. I don't know why it reminded me of that, but it did. And I brought this up earlier, but Honkai being able to read Nobunobu's mind when he was commenting in his mind about how awesome Sakamoto was such a goddammit moment, because Sakamoto's plan to drive out Honkai out of Nobunobu's body was pretty smart, but I guess too bad Nobunobu's internal monologue was overheard by Honkai, because he could read Nobunobu's mind. Honkai was able to counterattack and foil Sakamoto's plan by catching the bullet that Sakamoto tried to shoot at him, which, again, such a goddammit moment, because that plan almost worked. And then there was a moment where it's around where Honkai is, what's the word I'm looking for? He's kind of taunting Nobunobu and going on about how useless he is now that he's served his purpose to the Hitotsubashi and all that stuff, basically. And I couldn't tell if the moment where, like, all of Nobunobu's retainers were, like, killing themselves, like, at first I couldn't tell if that was imagery or if, like, that was actually happening, but I'm going to assume it's an imagery thing because later in that bit we see Nobunobu bloodied and on the ground talking to himself or something, so I'm going to assume it was an imagery thing. Like, I don't think that was actually happening. I think that was supposed to be sort of a metaphor. Which, in a way, I like, the way I see Nobunobu and his background is, it's funny. I feel like Nobunobu was about as much of a tool to the Hitotsubashi as the Hitotsubashi were to him, because I forget if I talked about this in my last review, but it feels like Nobunobu only wanted the position of shogun because he was raised to want it. Like, he doesn't want it because he wants it. He wants it because the Hitotsubashi want it, I feel like. Which is kind of interesting, because for most of his appearances throughout the series so far, we've kind of been led to believe that Nobunobu is this giant asshole who does nothing but, use people to his advantage, like basically using them like chess pieces, and or not chess pieces, pawns, that's the word I'm looking for. Uses people as his pawns to, like, get his way. Basically use people as stepping stones. I'm really fucking stuttering and fucking all that up, but whatever. He's basically using people as stepping stones to get to the top, or get to the peak, as he says. Like, I find it funny how we're supposed to kind of see Nobunobu that way when, like I said, in reality, the Hitotsubashi were really using him as much as he was using them, which I thought was kind of interesting. And on the same topic, I wasn't so sure about it last chapter, but I am liking how Nobunobu's redemption is going so far. I feel like this is probably the start of some real character development for him, which, again, like I said last chapter review, I did not see coming. I really thought his role in the story was done after Bonsai kind of punched the fuck out of him. Still a great moment. But no, I think this chapter, I think we can all agree that is really the start of his redemption story. And I feel like his character can really only go up from here. I feel like some fans probably aren't going to be ready to forgive him after all the shitty things he's done, and I mean, I don't blame anybody for that. That's understandable. Even I'm not really fully ready to forgive him just yet. But like I said, this chapter I think is the start of that, and I really want to see where that goes, because I think Sorachi, I'm not going to say this about every villain, because Sorachi really likes to, like, with every villain he writes, he really likes to at some point like throw a curveball in their backstory and like make the reader feel sorry for the villain even after they do all this heinous shit, which I feel like he's doing with Nobunobu. But I mean, let's be honest, I feel like there are some villains that Sorachi has tried to make sympathetic, but in the end I don't think was as effective as he wanted. Hosen Yoshiwara. Sorry, there's that damn cough again. But yeah, no, I'm not ready completely to forgive him, and I'm sure most fans aren't as well, but again, I'm willing to see where this goes. I'm still very interested in how Sorachi handles this, so I'm not ready to count my chickens just yet before they hatch. I feel like I kind of fucked that metaphor up, but anyway, and the last thing I really want to talk about is, I love it, and I mean, this is such a Gintama Sorachi trope, honestly, but I love it when Sorachi, during these big fights, will make it seem like a character has really been dealt a devastating blow, and it just looks completely hopeless. And then it turns out, oh yeah, they actually countered that attack, and now they're going to start their own counterattack. Like because at one point in the chapter, Honkai captures Sakamoto's bullet that he aimed for Honkai himself, and then Honkai catches it and throws it back at Sakamoto, making it look like he shot Sakamoto in the head. But then it turns out that Mutsu seems like she's only partially infected by Honkai's virus, and apparently actually catches the bullet before it could hit Sakamoto, which I love it when Sorachi does stuff like this, because like I said, it is such a, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like the more I think about this, it is such a Sorachi trope that's personally one of my favorites, because this isn't the first time he's done this. I think what are some of the moments that I came up with off the top of my head? The first one I thought up of was Gin's fight with Oboro back in the Courtesan of a Nation arc, where oh god, what exactly did he do here? Where I think it was Gin and Oboro's final clash, where both Gin and Oboro's sword broke, and they both try to go for like the sharper end of their sword, which was broken off, and Gin throws his broken part of Lake Toya down to the ground so it could stick out and have Oboro like fall on it and pierce him through the chest, but we didn't see it the first time. Like, it just kind of came up out of nowhere, and then we kind of had to have a little tiny flashback actually showing Gin throw it. That was the first one I thought up of, and then I think the most recently he's done this also was during Gin and Asaimon's fight against the 18th Ikeda Yaimon during the Shinigami arc, where I think the 18th Yaimon tries to slice Asaimon in the throat, but Gin actually cuts off part of his sword, and the sword only looks like it's in Asaimon's throat, which the first time I saw that, I really thought Yaimon actually sliced Asaimon in the throat, and I really thought he got Gin's throat too, which that's a little more confusing when you go back and watch that, but I mean, if you fill in the gaps, it makes sense. There was one more I thought I had. Oh yeah, actually, I think the earliest Sorachis used this technique in a fight would be actually during Gin's first fight with Nizo during the infant arc, where with the small little baby that looks like Gin and all that stuff, where Nizo thinks he cuts off Gin's arm, but Gin's slash ends up being faster than Nizo's. And I mean, this one's a little more confusing because for some reason Nizo thinks he cuts off Gintoki's arm, but Gintoki actually like cuts Nizo's sword, I guess. And I mean, I guess you could say, well, you know, he's blind, he can't really see it. But I mean, I feel like in terms of sound, there'd be a difference between the sound of you chopping someone's arm off and then your sword being broken. Like, that one's a little fishy, but I mean, I see what Sorachi was trying to do there. So, okay, maybe not all of them are perfect, but, you know, they're still effective enough. Like, Sorachi he really likes his fake outs. Like, that's such a Sorachi thing to do. Like, I don't know, it's just, Sorachi's a funny guy. But yeah, I think that's all I really want to talk about with this chapter in particular. But as for where the story's going next, I can't really say. I still say that I really want to see some Yato stuff really soon before we get to Gin's fight with what's his face, the Jiraiya / Oboro lookalike or whatever. I can't believe I forget his name, but he actually does have a pretty cool design. I think this is the end of the fight. And with that being said, I think this is going to play out like the end of Katsura versus Shokaku, where the fight ends in one chapter, and then we'll get to see their final character interactions in the next chapter and kind of transition into the next thing. That's how I think this is going to play out, but I really can't see this fight going on any longer, honestly. And I think I might have brought this up in my last review too. Like, I know some people don't like the idea of Gintama having like one-on-one fights because, you know, other shonen do that and etc., whatever. And yeah, like, I understand that trope can get stale. I mean, One Piece used to be like that for a while until, God, I don't even remember when it. I mean, sometimes One Piece mixes that up, but I still think it's prone to do that every once in a while. But I don't know, like, compared to other shonen, what I like about how Sorachi uses this trope is at least his fights aren't going to go on for like hundreds and hundreds of chapters. Sorachi's pacing is usually pretty on point, so these fights so far have been pretty good. They've been short and sweet. Is something I think we should really be thankful for when it comes to shonen, because Sorachi really could write some of these fights like any other shonen Jump author would, and like make them last. Like anyone who complains about Gintama's recent one-on-one fights, go read Bleach. Like, seriously. Part of the reason I stopped reading Bleach was because every fight went on too long, and like, especially reading it week to week, there would be points where like I would completely forget what the point of certain fights would be and shit like that. Like seriously, if people who complain about this particular trope don't read enough shonen and haven't read enough shonen to complain about how long or how overused the one-on-one fight trope is. But I think I'm going to stop there, because if I go on any longer, I'm going to rant as much as I did last time. So, chapter 567, Peak, pretty good chapter. I think I like it about as much as I did 566. Again, this fight so far is pretty good. I like it. I like seeing Sakamoto do stuff, but I knew that whatever fight was going to come after Katsura versus Shokaku, like, any fight that comes after that, I knew was going to be a tough act to follow, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel bad comparing this to that because that fight is so good. But I mean, I don't know. Again, this fight is okay, and that's really all I have to say. So, hopefully, we can look forward to my thoughts on Chapter 568 when that comes out next week. So, I hope everybody enjoyed my thoughts, and so, yeah, I will see you guys next week.